Welcome to episode 3 of the series. In episode 1, we examined why CODA had to exist, the aftermath of Bonham's passing, the contractual realities, and the emotional weight behind Zeppelin's final studio release. In episode 2, we stepped into Soul Studios, into the mixing desk, the edits, Bonzo's Montreux, and the careful assembly of an album built from fragments across a decade. But once CODA left the studio, the story moved beyond the control room. By September 1982, there was still no news on Zeppelin's upcoming release, but Pictures at 11 peaked at number 5 on Billboard that month. Although both singles didn't chart above Billboard's top 50, the US media talked about Robert's solo debut and speculated on what his career may look like from now on. Notice this ad with Pictures at 11 placed on top of Zeppelin's discography. The album made rock and roll headlines. Plant wanted to avoid the cliches and sat down to talk about starting over at age 34. Proud of his new work, he pushed forward into making a name for himself away from past glories.
Well, you wouldn't want to go out there and they're going to start yelling all the big Zeppelin songs, Kashmir, whatever. And would you feel obligated to do that?
No.
Finally, on October 25th, press notes on a new Zeppelin LP hit America. When the title CODA was finally unveiled, the article managed to compound the confusion by incorrectly stating that Bonzo had died of a heart attack on September 26, 1980. Not the finest example of rock journalism. Media outlets ran the story across North America, confirming an upcoming record with 90% new material. London's Daily Mirror ran a hilarious piece on Jimmy, rumored to join heavy metal band Whitesnake, a funny but strangely prophetic bit considering Coverdale Page some 10 years later.
There's more to come.
Zeppelin's CODA was finally released on Monday, November 22, 1982. In a strange sea of expectations and limited promotional materials, the record aimed at capturing audiences in large numbers despite the media frenzy surrounding Michael Jackson's Thriller that same month. By early December, CODA landed on the 9th position on Billboard's 200, while Robert's debut went down to 133. Led Zeppelin's new album peaked at number 6 in January 1983, remaining on the charts for 19 weeks while the reviews came in. The Baltimore Sun said
the outtakes lacked stylistic variety,
but praised the instrumental sound. Washington's spokesman called it unnecessary finale, saying, quote,
"It's doubtful Zeppelin fans will put up with the boring drum piece or the 2 blues soul songs the band covers. Rather butch."
The Orlando Sentinel shared a solid 4-star rating for CODA, right below their take on Thriller. The Birmingham News Alabama gave it 3.5 stars. Quote,
"It isn't great. It isn't horrible. It's merely the last hurrah for Led Zeppelin."
The critics said the highlight was I Can Quit You Baby, as an improvement on the 1969 release. Indiana's Herald Times got it right. They understood the concept, a fitting tribute for John Bonham, yet they called Wearing and Tearing the weakest song on the album. CODA took a nosedive into the charts abyss in February 1983. By April 2nd, it was gone from Billboard. Already a trouble album to push on radio, there were no promo singles, interviews, videos, nothing. It was the first Zeppelin album not to have singles. Hard to pick one though. Poor Tom and Ozone Baby had a good running time, but could they stand out next to the 1983 charts dominated by Men at Work, Toto, Hall & Oates, Phil Collins, Duran Duran, or even Styx? CODA seemed destined to become a forgotten chapter in Zeppelin's history. Maybe the title was wrong. For a band with consecutive and clever titles since their inception, CODA sounded like a full stop sound, not the most inviting, nor did it suggest a massive drumming power inside. Maybe it was marketed as a career retrospective, when technically it wasn't. For the first time, Zeppelin printed the archival details directly on the vinyl insert, dates, sessions, origins. That level of transparency might have unintentionally reinforced the perception that CODA was assembled rather than created. Instead of letting listeners experience the material on its own terms, the insert quietly set the mood before the needle even dropped. Contrast that with Physical Graffiti. That album also included outtakes, but the band never highlighted when those tracks were recorded. The music was allowed to exist in the present tense. With CODA, the details may have amplified the afterthought narrative and fueled endless what-if debates, particularly around the sequencing of Into the Outdoor and what might have been, considering the 1978 outtakes. Not even Robert's brilliant follow-up and first US tour in July, nor Page's Arms shows in December, helped to revive any interest in Led Zeppelin's 9th studio album. Things shifted in 1990. Robert Plant's band played Wearing and Tearing from CODA June through August, including a guest spot by Jimmy Page at Knepworth. Page himself had been working hard on the remasters project. A special edit of Moby Dick into Bonzo's Montreux was made for the famous Orange Box. Additional outtakes Baby Come On Home, Traveling Riverside Blues, White Summer, and a long overdue inclusion of Hey Hey What Can I Do were added on box sets 1, 2, as well as disc 10 on 1993's The Complete Studio Recordings. Despite the revamped CODA on this box set, further standalone reissues on CD did not include any bonus material outside of the original track listing. Mainstream media and magazines agreed on a contractual obligation as a reason for CODA's existence, which contributed to the album not finding its place in our audience. Page and Plant didn't perform a single track from CODA's original 1982 running order across more than 200 shows in the 1990s. That absence says a lot, and yet they did revive Hey Hey What Can I Do, proving there was still an audience for these other Zeppelin songs, just not under the CODA banner. Outside the band, the material lived in the margins. A 2000 tribute release, Led Zeppelin, featured German thrash band Wasteland taking on Wearing and Tearing, an aggressive version that highlighted how far ahead of its time the song really was, even if the vocals divided listeners. In 2003, the official Zeppelin DVD brought renewed attention to the Royal Albert Hall performances of We're Gonna Groove and I Can Quit You Baby, but few casual fans made the connection back to CODA. A small shift came in 2008 with the Japanese LP replica box set, where CODA retained the expanded 1993 bonus material, a quiet reminder that the album's story wasn't over. And then 2014 happened, with exciting news of the latest Zeppelin Remastered series by Jimmy Page. Every album underwent sonic treatment, plus fans received precious companion discs with lots of bonus material. Records wouldn't be released at once, but in 4 phases. As we got each series, the companion discs became a polarizing topic on online forums by the time we got to Led Zeppelin 4. While I personally didn't share this opinion and bought all the releases on CD, some people complained about too many rough mixes and not enough rare material. Phase 4 came in 2015. Presence had one killer bonus track nobody had heard before, and Into the Outdoor had, well, nothing new but mono and rough mixes. As someone who owns 72 copies of the album, I'll admit I was a bit disappointed. With a less than promising companion disc setting for the last studio album, there were no high hopes for CODA, and boy was everyone wrong about it, myself included. Jimmy saved the best for last. 2 CODA Deluxe set promo videos were released in July 2015 to the sounds of a track they left off the 1982 release, Sugar Mama. While I can understand why they chose this as a single of sorts, I don't feel it translated what Deluxe CODA was really about. They had better songs in there, but the marketing machine was on. I went to a local record store and looked at the CD's track listing. I couldn't believe it. The original release plus 15 tracks. An instant buy for me, and the negative photo effect was the one that looked the best after Into the Outdoor. So I got home and the album welcomed me with a nice tray including 1969 portraits and an onstage shot of Brussels 1980. So what was on the companion discs? Note, you can also check my other Making of album series for more stories on these numbers. CODA itself got expanded with an alternate mix of We're Gonna Groove. The construction mix of Bonzo's Montreux justifies the set. Poor Tom instrumental mix and Walter's Walk rough mix completed the experience. All these help to understand the intricate post-production process at Soul Studios back in '82. We also got the 1993 studio recordings bonus cuts, the famous Bombay Sessions 1972, which is like a prequel to Page and Plant Unleaded. A tasty jam idea, St. Tristan's Sword, later used in Over the Hills and Far Away, plus rough mixes for 1969's Bringin' It Home, and 2 graffiti cuts, the Wanton Song's demo Desire and Everybody Makes It Through, later known as In the Light. But the winner in my book is If It Keeps On Raining, an early 1970 version of When the Levee Breaks that just rips and underlines the groove element that made Zeppelin a powerhouse band with Jumple Jones's thick bass lines leading the way. A dear friend of mine, Frantic Dav, lent me his CODA box set, and I promise it will be returned. This is not a heist, it's appreciation. Seriously, I'll return the box set. The green outer box is elegant, almost reminiscent of Bonzo's green sparkle kit. Inside, the original 1982 release sits in pristine condition, followed by the black and silver variant, a design bold enough to make you wonder if it should have been the official cover all along. The layered printing on the title has real texture. You can feel the craftsmanship beneath your fingertips. The booklet is where the set truly shines. It moves carefully through every Zeppelin era, evolution, artistry, legacy, printed on thick, high-quality paper that feels deliberate, considered. There's something about opening a box set like this, the weight, the smell of ink and paper, that makes history tangible. A 1982 album finally receiving the archival treatment it deserved. 2 discs remain sealed at the bottom. The shrink wrap still holds 2015 air inside it, condensed time. Tempting as it is to break that seal, it stays untouched. CODA in 2015 wasn't just a reissue, it was an unlocked door into Zeppelin's recording process. My own 3 CD set, worn slightly at the edges from years on and off the road, carries that same textured title, A Diary of a Band in Motion. And the renewed attention led to something unexpected. Fans began reinterpreting the album in creative ways. One YouTube creator, Listy Shadows, even produced an entire 8-bit version of CODA, transforming Zeppelin's final album into something that sounds like it belongs in a vintage video game. I'll play some snippets here, and if you really like it, you can check out the full album over on the Listy Shadows channel. So what is my personal take on the 1982 release of CODA? As a listening experience, you can't help but air drum your way through every song. I'll admit, I usually play this album for Bonzo's Montreux and hit repeat over and over again. What I personally think hurts the album for many listeners is the sequencing, so let me tell you how I would arrange the tracks for a greater impact. Side 1, Poor Tom, Ozone Baby, Walter's Walk, I Can't Quit You Baby. This creates a contrast of intensity and necessary context that amplifies the slow blues effect on track 4. Side 2 opens with We're Gonna Groove for a high-octane start, followed by Wearing and Tearing, further developing the speed drumming motif. Then you catch a breath with Darlene's tongue-in-cheek attitude, reminding us they're still a rock and roll band at heart. Bonzo's Montreux closes the album, a studio creation so exquisite it needs no song afterwards, as it mirrors Zeppelin's finale. Bonham's passing ultimately sealed their destiny. This is, after all, Bonzo's record. I hope this series helped you reappreciate CODA and inspires you to pick up a copy for yourself. Go for the triple vinyl or 3 CD set, you won't regret it. Don't buy bootlegs, buy official product. CODA is worth having in your collection.